We're going to do one song that was in the Haftarah.
Is the volume down? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Good Shabbos, B'chach, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Rabbi. I want to welcome you to the first Malava Malka Kumzitz of the 21st century. It's a great privilege to be with the Carlebach Hasidim whenever we're together. I want to tell you what we have in store for you tonight. Right after Havdalah, as is always our custom, as was Reb Shlomo's custom, to make Havdalah together, in case maybe there's one person who didn't hear it yet. So after Havdalah, the Holy Beggars Band, Michael Poullard and friends, Yitz Fuchs and friends, and Evan Jerome, our lead vocalist tonight, will serenade you with a Malava Malka. Following that, our guest rabbi for this Shabbos, Rabbi Mordechai Twersky, will be here, and we will then surprise you. All of you who are sitting the way you're sitting now will be moved, and those two tables against the wall will become the head table for the Kumzitz Malava Malka that Rabbi Twersky will lead, and tables will be put in between these chairs, Kumzitz style. And we will then sing with you and tell stories until you tire. So that's what we have for you tonight. I want to thank one of my closest friends who's helped keep the Carlebach Hasidim going all year long. Because, you know, we rent this facility. We're really spiritually homeless. And this is our permanent temporary home until we find a larger location. We've already outgrown this facility, and for those of you who haven't been with us, you should know that there's over 200 people davening here on a Friday night, and then another 70 for dinner, and we just had an unbelievable Shabbos. But in order to pay for all these activities, we need musicians to help with the Malava Malkas, because that's what brings in the revenue. So without the giving nature of our musicians, we would be nowhere. And you should all know that the Carlebach Hasidim is a collaborative effort. All of the rabbis who speak and who join us for Torah and who join us for celebration, as well as the musicians, no one gets paid. All we're trying to do is rent the chairs, pay the overhead here, and learn the art of Jewish celebration together. That's what we're about. So with no further ado, my friend Poullard.
Okay, we're going to do Havdalah, and y'all going to help me sing, right? Yeah. I don't know if it's in here, we're going to find it. I will. I found it. Okay, we have it here. Okay, Havdalah is very special. I remember with Reb Shlomo, Havdalah was very special. Okay, do everybody do one? We have Sagar here who wants to hold the candle for us. We have to find him a match. Holy Matthew. Yeah, I think the problem here is that we have too much light in the room because we want to make our own light. Oh yeah. Okay, so we're gonna make it like we're gonna make our own light anyway. We can't put lighting yet. Okay. So please, you know, if we okay, let's do this for the shul, for the Knesset, and for Kal Kadosh. You know, if we all close our eyes, you know, we can really feel what's really in the world. You know, and it really is, you know, because we don't, we lose our beged, you know, that which we're hides really what's going on. So if we could really close our eyes and sing, it would help. So okay, everybody's home. Remember, close your eyes. Help me. Everybody help me. Close your eyes. Feel good about everybody in the room. Yaseh Baruch Atah Adonai Hamavdil ben Kodesh Lechol. What Tell me, okay? We're not really singing along. There's no solo hit tonight, okay? When you sing, it's like work, and then you feel good after you work. I'm telling you, you feel good. So try to sing with us, okay? We're going to do some original songs. So hopefully you'll enjoy them, and we'll come back to do some Shlomo. Thank you. What? You, yeah? You're the cat. Thank you. Yitz Fuchs on piano, thank you very much. Rabbi David, Holy Brother David Twersky on the percussion to get it going. Now we're going to play a song called To Jerusalem, and we hope to take it to Jerusalem with us.
I'll ask you if you like
Okay, you guys have to sing. We'll sing together.
Oh,
Sing along. What's that
Great song.
Let's give a big hand to McCoyle, Poullard. Also, Yitz, Fuchs and friends. Dan Becker just came in. So this is the beginning of our Malava Malka. I want to let all of you know what's going to happen next because it's going to be very, very special. And Jack Sandhouse and Benji, we need you over here. So now, we're going to shift the energy from the Malava Malka concert, and we're going into our Kumsitz mode. So that will affect everyone, but right over here, we're going to be putting 4 tables this way. So you'll all need to just get up and grab your chair while our crew, Shraga Feivel and Ori and all the guys come up to this end and grab these 4 tables. Okay? I want to welcome everyone once again. Welcome to the second part of the first Malava Malka of the 21st century. We're starting off the second part of our Malava Malka with a traditional kumsitz. And to head up the kumsitz tonight, it's my great pleasure and my great honor to introduce to you someone who many of you already know. Hang on one second. Rabbi Mordechai Twersky is known as the Hornsteipler Rabbi. He is a direct descendant of the Baal Shem Tov. He's one of the great mentioned and one of the great rabbis of our generation. He's a therapist, he's a rabbi, he's one of the great human beings on the planet today. I always consider it a real great privilege when he comes to join the Carlebach city of Brooklyn. Please welcome Rabbi Mordechai Twersky, the Hornsteipler Rabbi.
Now you may wonder how come I rearranged the room. Number one is because I don't know how to sing a song without doing this. So how do you do that up there when you're standing? You don't have anything to bang on. Yeah, without a clump on the tish, how can you sing anything? It also gives those who are around the table something to do also. Also because Malava Malchus should be bringing a little bit of the light of Shabbos still into the week. That is the custom among Hasidim to put candles on the tables. So that we remember that the light of Erev Shabbos, when we divided between Chol and Kodesh, between that which was mundane and that which is holy, and we made our time holy, that when we go back into the weekday, that we make it holy too. And therefore we take a little bit of the fire from Friday night, a little bit of the fire that illuminated the entire darkness and made it Shabbos, and we want to be Mosef Mechol ala Kodesh ala Chol, we want to add Kedusha into the week. And again, how do you put candles if you don't have a table? Also because standing up there is something like a concert and I'm not a performer. I just want to be a Jew like all other Jews. And so I ask you to join with me. First for those who have heard some of my nigunim, you'll be able to join. And those who haven't learned it will learn a little bit tonight. But I just wanted to point out that at the beginning of Shachris every morning, the first bracha that we make after taking care of our basic bodily needs and thanking Hashem that we can do that, is a bracha which the Gemara says it was so essential that the generation of Rabbi Akiva and his disciples perished because they didn't make this bracha. It says, why did the disciples of Rabbi Akiva, among the reasons that that generation saw the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, because they didn't make the bracha on the Torah first. And Rashi explains that it's impossible to say that the disciples of Rabbi Akiva didn't make a bracha on the Torah before they read it. He said, no, they made the regular bracha. That he blessed us and separate, chose us from all other nations and gave us the Torah. But they didn't say, they didn't ask that the words of Torah should be sweet. And not only sweet in our mouths, but in the sweet of our children's mouth. And one of the commentaries on Rashi says, if you don't, even if your own Torah is beautiful, if you're not praying for the next generation's Torah, then there's no connection. So if you join me, because this bracha I made in honor of the wedding of my daughter, one of my daughters, and as my children got older, these type of brachas became more and more important to me. So we prayed that the Torah, words of Torah should be sweet not only in our mouths, but in the mouths of our children. I need a chord that I can sing. Let me give you a chord and sing it. See, could you do that without a table? You need a good table for a neighbor. Yeah, banging on your knees isn't the same. Moshe Rabbeinu first saw Sneh, he saw the bush burning. When he saw the bush burning and he went to see it, and Hashem called out to him and told him, Ani Elokei Avicha, I am the God of your father. Elokei Avram, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov, the God of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And it says, Vayastem Moshe Panav, Moshe hid his face. So Rashi brings a medrash that says, why did it have to say, Elokei Avicha? Why did it say, I am the God of your father? Why didn't Hashem just introduce himself as the God of Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov? So the medrash says that Moshe, when he heard this voice calling out to him, Hashem was afraid that Hashem was concerned that Moshe would become frightened. So the first voice that Hashem gave Moshe to hear was his father's voice. He heard his father's voice and he called out. The medrash says, Avi, Avi, Eifo Atam. My father, my father. Amram had already, according to all the calculations, Moshe was almost 80 years old at this point. His father was already not of this world. And so he called out, Avi, Avi, my father, where are you? And then Hashem changed the voice and said, Ani Elokei, Elokei Avram, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov. No, I'm not your father, though I have your father's voice. It's a beautiful medrash. Beautiful medrash because it tells us that we know that our relationship with Hashem is not always so comfortable. But when we hear a voice that loves us, and it's a voice that we can connect, and we can say, Avi, Avi, Eifo Ata, my father, where are you? That leaves us open to hear things we could have never heard afterwards. Because the first voice that we need to hear is a voice that's filled with love. He asked the Moshe Panav, and the Moshe hid his face. So if this is a voice, then the question comes, if this is the voice that's filled with love, the Moshe can hear that it's Hashem who loves him like his own father, then why did Moshe have to hide his face? Really, it's a Gemara, and the Medrash is a little bit clearer. Moshe hid his face because what Hashem offered him was something that Hashem never offered to another human being and would never make the offer again. He offered him, Moshe, do you want to know Sadik Viralo Rosh B'Tofla? Do you want to know why the good suffer? Do you want to know why the evil prosper? Vayasta Moshe Panav, Moshe hid his face. He said, Hashem, I don't want to know. Later on, we find, after the Chet HaEgel, after the children of Israel already worship the golden calf and lose that special connection they received at Har Sinai, Moshe asks Hashem, Haideni Nostrochecha, show me your ways. And again, the Medrash says, what Moshe was asking for, says, Hashem, I want to know now. Now I want to know why the good suffer and the evil prosper. And Hashem told him, Moshe, when I offered it to you, you didn't want it. Now that you want it, I'm not going to offer it. And that Medrash bothers him. Was Hashem playing games? Yes, you wanted it. When I offered it to you, now I'm not going to offer it to you. Hashem doesn't do that. Hashem doesn't do that. So I want to leave you a little bit sitting with the question because it bothered me for a long time. Teach you share with you a nigun that we started for those who were with us once a Shabbos Chanukah on the west side. They heard this nigun, I'll share it with you as well. Every Friday night, come home from shul, we say Shalom Aleichem. After Shalom Aleichem, there's a long paragraph with a lot of words. And not everybody says it. Little print. Little print. Rabbi Carlebach, Kol Neshomas, Melech Haber, Melech Baruch. We acknowledge Hashem is King, powerful and blessed and filled with a list of every letter of the Aleph Beis. The letter of the Aleph Beis, and with which we acknowledge the greatness of Hashem. And we ask for a number of things in that tefillah, which is one of the reasons why there are those who don't say it, because you're not supposed to ask for your needs on Shabbos. But there's one thing that we ask there, which everybody says you're allowed to ask, even on Shabbos. The saying, Banu Yetzer Tov. Give us a good inclination. La'avdecha be'emes b'yir b'ava, so that we can serve you with truth, with awe, with love. And this is the story about how this nigun came into this world. All I can say is that it was the way to, in the process of learning how a person who wants to become a Jew loves Hashem, and their response, this was the nigun that came out of it. I have to drop down, I'm going to get too high. Register, I can check it on my, get my vocal cords to match. Not yet. Let's give it. It's almost. there. Di-da-da-da-da, my la-la-la, my la-la, my la-la-la, my la-la-la, la la So I want to say that tonight, besides being with all of you which is so special, I have the great honor of my aunt Chai Halberstam, the famous mother of the famous daughter, Rita Halberstam. The truth of the matter, I have to say that in my memory, this is probably the first Malav Malka we've ever really spent together. So it's wonderful. So I want to tell you a story about fathers and sons. Because since we're talking about the stories of Moshe, since the Torah is teaching us about Moshe Rabbeinu, and that Hashem calling out to him as a father was the way to get Moshe to be able to listen with love. And now it's Malav Malka, we're supposed to tell Chassidish stories. So if any of you have heard the story from me, I beg your apology, and for those who haven't heard it, it's a beautiful story. The Twerskys are descendants directly from the house of Chernobyl. The Motel of Chernobyl, who I'm named after my Zayda was named after him, was once sitting with his Talmidim, sitting with his students. He was sitting and learning, and all of a sudden his face turned white. He put his head down on the table, put his head on his hand, and remained that way for a long time. Now, normally you might say he fell asleep, but they knew that he was sitting there. It wasn't something that... And when they looked at him, they saw that the color of his face was flaming bright. So they knew that something was happening, something was going on, and that they weren't going to disturb him. And they sat for several hours while their Rebbe sat, obviously lost in deep thought. After a couple of hours, he picked himself up and he looked around and he says, "I see that you're puzzled." He says, "Let me tell you what happened. You see, when we go up, after we leave this world, our neshamas rise up before the divine throne. Our actions are all presented, and we're sent into those realms that our neshama have achieved." He says, "You know, my father, Carlebach of Chernobyl, has been in the higher worlds for many years. But something took place which created a new kitruk, created a new adversarial complaint. And I was summoned before the divine court to say testimony about my father. Let me tell you what happened, and for what my father was brought after all these years to account for. See, many years ago when my father lived in Chernobyl, there was a woman who lived in Chernobyl who Hashem had not blessed her with children. And every so often she would come into him and says, "Rabbi, give me a bracha that I should have children." And he used to answer, "What can I give you? I can't give you children. Only Hashem can give you children. And if you needed to have, if Hashem wanted you to have children, you would have children. It must be that you're not supposed to have children, so I can't do anything about it." But this woman was very strong-willed, and she would bother him continuously. And he would always give her the same answer. He says, "Who am I to change? the structure of creation. It was not destined that you should have children this lifetime. She wouldn't take no for an answer. One summer day, when she was walking by the Rebbe's house, she saw him sitting in his study, learning. And there was nobody else in the house. And the window was wide open. And she walked over to the window and she said, Rabbi, now you're going to give me a bracha that I should have children. He says, you know, my good, sweet woman, you know, I can't change what is part of the structure of creation. I've told you many times. He says, no, Rabbi, you don't understand. If you don't give me a bracha right now, then I'm going to jump through the window, and I'm going to come in the room, and I'll be alone in the house with you. And I will go out into the community and say, I was alone with the Rabbi of Chernobyl. So, not from Chernobyl, immediately became very frank. He says, no, don't come in. I promise you'll have a son. Next year, the woman was blessed with a son. So, it would appear that this child who was born at that time, his actions have raised a critique after all these years. And a malach appeared before the divine court to say, listen, I have a complaint about this young man, and he is on this world because the Rebbe of Chernobyl changed the structure of creation. Tzaddik goes about Kodesh Baruch Hu Makayim, and Tzaddik can decree, and a Kodesh Baruch Hu will fulfill the decree. And I want to know with which merit did he have to change God's will? With what right did he have to change the plan of creation? And so they brought my father down from the lofty heights of Shemayim, of Gan Eden, to answer this malach's complaint. And so my father said, if you want to know if I have any merits, ask my son. And so they brought me before Bezdin Shomala, they brought me before the divine court that I should testify about the merits that my father had. And so the Talmudim says, so Rabbi, what did you tell them? He says, I would tell them there was a story that took place when I was a child. You see, my father, in those days, there were Magidim. Magidim were, as we would probably call them, itinerant preachers. Talmidei Chachamim who would travel around from town to town, exhorting the people to do tshuva, inspiring them. They were given contracts. The contract was called a Magidus, a Ksav Magidus. A Magid was somebody who had a contract for a route. And there were a number of them that would circulate, and they would come around and they would speak on Shabbos generally, and then during the week they would raise some money for themselves and then go on to the next town. And my father always felt, because he too had done his routine as a Maggid, he knew how difficult it was to travel all the time. So he used to take care of these Magidim. When they would come to town, he would treat them with a great deal of respect. He would take care of them and feed them. One Erev Shabbos, a Maggid shows up in town, and of course he's sent directly to my father's house. And the man seemed to be a little bit more abrupt than often needed. And as they got ready to go to shul, the Maggid turns to my father and he said, Rabbi, you see my kaftan is a little torn, it's worn out. It's not befitting that I should go into shul wearing a torn kaftan. Your kaftan is in such good condition, I want to trade with you. You wear the torn kaftan and I'll wear the nice one. My father didn't bat an eyelash. He immediately took off his kaftan and said, my pleasure to give you my kaftan for this Shabbos. And so that whole Shabbos, my father wore a torn kaftan. And the Maggid wore my father's. Since it didn't stop there. Sunday morning, when the custom is that the Maggid would go around town and collect money after having inspired the people, the Maggid turns to my father and Sunday morning he says, Rabbi, he says, it is beneath my dignity to go around and collect money. He says, I want you to go around and collect the money for me. My father didn't bat an eyelash. He said, it would be my honor to do so. And he personally went around from door to door, which the Maggid would usually do, and raised the money. The Maggid stayed a couple of nights, and of course they gave, where would the Maggid sleep? He would sleep in my bedroom, the son's bedroom. He says, in the middle of the night, one night I get up, I hear noise, and I go look, I see the Maggid's not in his bed. And I go take a look, see where he is. And I see he's emptying all the silver out of the silver cabinet, packing away my mother's lighter, my mother's candlesticks, packing it back and getting ready to flee with everything valuable that we had left in the house. So I ran to my father's room and I wake him up and says, Tati, wake up, the Maggid is stealing all of our silver. And my father woke up and says, my son, he says, don't let it bother you. You see, when a guest comes into my house, the first thing I tell him, my house, everything that I have in my house is for you. It's all yours, whatever you need. So he's not taking ours. I already gave it to him when he first came on Friday. He says, so he's only taking his. Don't worry about it. He's not stealing. Go back to sleep. And so I went back to sleep and I let the Maggid take the silver. Says, this was my father's hachnosas orcha. This was my father's way in which he took care of guests. At which point the defending angel jumped up in heaven and said, for a person who could treat other Jews with such openness, that type of person can change the laws of nature. That person has the merits to change Hashem's plan in this world. Va'anu kulam, amen. The entire heavenly court all stood up and answered, Amen, and sent my father's neshama back. Hailama emes, and my neshama returned here. Such is the power of Achnosas Orcha. And such is the love that we need to learn in our times as well. How much we care for somebody else. And what we would be willing to give to change even Hashem's plan in this world.